Sonic's Quest Issue 1. It takes place at dawn in Knothole, and we see Jeffrey coming out of the bushes, being called a renegade by the narration for some reason, even though it's clearly stated that he used to work for King Acorn. So why is he in any way a renegade? Anyways, Sonic ambushes him, jumping to the worst conclusions about him purely out of jealousy from his being a fellow love interest for Sally. And it's revealed that Sally had asked him to come here. So why was Sonic up this early if he wasn't part of their mission? Did he get woken up by Sally making too much noise leaving the house? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Even Jeffrey himself says that he was once the elite royal guard to King Acorn himself. So why is he being called a renegade here when he's the exact opposite? I mean, there's no reason he can't be a criminal and an elite royal guard. But still, it's kind of confusing. He never really does anything to earn that title. Anyway, so they bring him to see King Acorn again. And shockingly, we see the left half of the king's face all green like with the chaotics when Dimitri first brainwashed them. And he's mumbling deliriously. Why the hell is Sally telling Jeffrey all this stuff that we already know? Sure, it serves as a recap for the audience, but the overly depressing Mecha Sonic arc had nothing to do with this current situation. Sally explains that while Dr. Quack... Wait, really? You'd think he would get a name change going into that profession. Seriously, that's something you can legally do, so that's not funny. It's not funny, it's just confusing. I guess he lives in a kingdom where you can't legally change your name. But anyways, the doctor was able to stabilize the king, but he still remembers nothing. Wait, how is the doctor able to stabilize the king in a condition like this? You'd think he'd have no experience with that kind of stuff. But yeah, that along with him crystallizing all things is why he's not allowed to have his return revealed to the general populace yet. Makes perfect sense, it would only cause a panic. It's because of all this that Sally turned to Jeffrey of all people for help. How would he be able to help? She must be really desperate. He gets entrusted with guarding the king and maintaining the secret as his elite guard once more. Oh, that's how. I thought she was going to him for help on how to get him back to normal. Instead, Sally and her friends are going to do that, which makes more sense. It makes sense that Sonic thinks Jeffrey, has stench to him, considering he's a skunk. But wouldn't deodorant cover that up? So why would he even have that problem? Because he forgot to wear it today. Rotor explains that King Acorn must have adjusted to the radical atmosphere in the Zone of Silence, which was never elaborated on. It's not like the Freedom Fighters commented on it, so that was weird. Meaning that now the air of Mobius is adversely affecting him. I guess he's used to so much magic, but I don't understand why normal air would affect him adversely. Magic air I could understand. Tails says that it actually looks like he's turning into a Chaos Emerald. Like Dimitri? Finally, Sonic thinks to use his 1 billionth ring! It only very briefly snaps the king out of it, making him ask Sally how his knothole before he passes out. I thought his 1 billionth ring was supposed to be a lot more powerful than that, but it ended up amounting to nothing. That was disappointing. Rotor explains that magic rings, and I guess not Chaos Emeralds even though they're way more powerful, hold the key to the cure. But Sonic's special ring is uniquely his own and his powers tuned to him, so then why was it able to affect the king at all? After Bunny says that searching for rings could be dangerous, the lake of rings is finally brought up again, but doesn't it only produce 1 ring a day? That couldn't be too helpful. Well, I guess everyone makes mistakes, so it makes sense that they would forget about that little detail. I mean, it's called the Lake of Rings, so you expect it to be a lot more interesting and useful than that. Sally divides her friends into 3 groups, saying that Antoine and Bunny will search the safest area, the Lake of Rings, which fortunately doesn't have any patrolling robots there or anything to make it not safe for them. This makes sense after some thought, since not only do they get shipped later on, despite this image, but Bunny could act as a bodyguard for Antoine just in case because of her super strong cyborg parts. So if you're going to send the most useless member of the team on a mission somewhere, you might as well have a bodyguard for him. Still, I can't help but think that the second strongest member of the team is being wasted on this mission. She could be going somewhere else. Oh well, and it's still not being mentioned the crucial flaw with this plan, that they'd only get a grand total 1 ring out of the deal. Sonic and Tails are to explore the Ring Grotto near Robotropolis. Good, Sonic and Tails get a nice brotherly adventure again. Rightio is a pretty lame thing of Sonic to say though. Isn't he supposed to be cool? I guess this is because he's like all silly and carefree or something. and Rotor and Sally will stay here to help the king. Makes sense since Sally wants to help her father, and Rotor and Sally are the least good at fighting robots and stuff, so they should be in the safest place. We immediately cut to Eggman, who goes off somewhere to do something and leaves Snively in charge while he's gone, at least saying that he shouldn't let it go to his head, so he's a little trying to savvy. Of course, he immediately does that and orders the robots to stop reconstruction and start waiting on him hand and foot. Even the SWAT-bots question this. Makes sense since they were made to blindly follow Robotnik and not him, so they'd have the free will to question him. But they follow his orders anyways because they think they'd get in trouble with Robotnik if they didn't. Still, Snively's taking a huge dumb risk by saying to change the sign to Snivel-Paulus though. Not only because it doesn't roll off the tongue as well, but because he'll get in huge trouble the instant Robotnik sees those signs. And it'll take too much time to make those signs normal again before he'll come back and see them. This works out for Sonic as the robots don't get sent out on patrol to look for intruders and potentially inconvenience Antoine and Bunny. So we cut to Sonic and Tails. Sonic reminds Tails that after he became Supersonic and battled Knuckles, the area they were in was forever changed, so Rotor doesn't have any current data on it. Because I guess sending Sonic there himself to get the data by running around would have been so much work. Also, does Sonic have brown eyes? Well, it is explained later on in the comic why he gets green eyes. And brown eyes make way more physiological sense than purely black eyes like Mickey Mouse do. But it's weird. Anyways, Sonic explains that the reason Rotor didn't get more data is because the recent bombings of Robotropolis reduced the remote camera to slag. And I guess they were too busy and stuff to replace the remote camera off screen. Tails says that they better be prepared for anything then. And Sonic says in shock that the entire surface of the grotto had been sealed under a dome of impenetrable steel. Why would Tails even ask how this happened? It's obvious Robotnik did it, and even Sonic doesn't know, even though it's obvious who they should be blaming right away. I was half expecting a subversion here where it would turn out it's actually some other villain, but of course, no, it's Robotnik. Sonic says that just west of here, in the Mobian Cliffs, lives a colony of airborne freedom fighters led by Carl Condor. Good thing they haven't all been roboticized yet doing that. You idiot! Sonic, why would you ever leave... Why would you ever agree to leave Tails alone anywhere? You should know by now that's just begging for him to get in trouble. That happens every single time. Even in the Tails miniseries he just got in trouble. He only really did something at the end. But alas, common sense takes a back seat as the writers make Sonic agree to let Tails keep an eye on the dome while he's gone. Well, there's absolutely no reason you should need to do that because the dome's not gonna just get up and walk away. Surprisingly, the dome opens by itself, and Tails goes into the bushes to hide rather than going into the dome like I expected, and sees a giant tube coming up from the sky that starts vacuuming up all the magic rings. Is this what Eggman's gonna do to power up his ultimate weapon? As I expected, Tails gets kidnapped, but with a tube instead of a robot. So that's a little different. Sonic complains about something that's not a celestial body blocking the sun. Why didn't the entire sky get dark then? That's what happens in the eclipses, isn't it? And surprisingly, Carl Condor was roboticized. Wow, that was harsher in hindsight. I didn't expect the comic to have the realistic thing happen. I thought he'd just be fine for no reason because of overly lightheartedness. That is a pretty menacing robot. Sonic loses the fight because he was stupid enough to stare at the sun and get temporarily blinded. Well, a lot of people do stare at the sun during an eclipse for some reason, but still. I mean, well, I guess if you took a picture of that, it might damage it because it's too bright for the film. I don't know. And the object blocking the sun was watching the sight from down below. As Sonic gets kidnapped as well as Tails, Eggman complains about how the robots failed to stop the tube after removing it from the water for some reason, causing several tons of unnecessary debris to come aboard the vessel. It says that the time it will take to separate the excess weight from the rings will delay his schedule. Eggman boasts that his space vessel is there to roboticize every living being from above, I guess using a sort of portable roboticizer with way more juice, so it can do it to more than just one person. Still, this is kind of overpowered. I mean, like, I can accept like a roboticizer that you can put somebody in and it can like shoot out gas that can magically turn so that they can shoot out gas so they can magically send metal to replace like dissolved skin or something. I can sort of buy that, but only because the person is enclosed in a contained roboticizer machine. So it's not like the gas can escape from it. But wouldn't what if you're roboticizing someone with a portable laser? Wouldn't the gas just go other places instead of just focusing on one person? I guess because the laser is really concentrated, and so it can't go anywhere else. Maybe it's held in place in the laser by a sort of field of energy. The point is, it doesn't entirely make sense, and it feels overpowered to have a portable roboticizer, like a moving laser that can roboticize so many different people at once. But I guess it is a high-stakes situation. And it's called a Death Egg, even though it's way too late by now for a Sonic 3 reference, because the Sonic 3 adaptation happened quite a while ago and completely ignored the Death Egg. This is definitely a high-stakes situation, but again, I don't think it was entirely thought through all the way. It seems cheap, it seems too easy for Eggman to have such an overly powerful weapon, even if he does have a whole bunch of rings. This story is the start of an interesting adventure that keeps me on the edge of my seat. It was written by Mike Gallagher, of all people. So, it is pretty impressive that the former king of puns is advanced to an epic story. So it's a shame that the start of it is bogged down by so much recap. I like that things that happened in previous issues are actually coming back for this one to have consequences. And Sonic finding the Lake of Rings, and the fight with Super Sonic and Hyper Knuckles changing the area so they need to be on the guard. It feels more like a living, breathing world you can believe in and get invested in and have all these sorts of continuity nods, rather than nothing really mattering because it's all episodic, which isn't at all how it is in real life. And granted, it doesn't need to be entirely realistic. It is a fantasy universe after all. But there's something that I like about this. But we didn't need to have Sally tell Jeffrey about all that Mecha Sonic art stuff and the earthquake in Robotropolis, things I'd expect him to already know, since he's actively involved with his own type of freedom fighter group and all. This is definitely the beginning of the miniseries, alright, because not much happens here. They start out on their adventure, and Sonic is really easily caught off guard and captured by a very menacing looking foe. How can a robot bird fly anyways? Wouldn't it be too heavy without fire boosters like the jetpack to lift it off the ground? Still, this is looking to have the potential to be the best miniseries of them all so far, though it still doesn't beat out the first issue of the Sally miniseries, which had its own contained story that got wrapped up within that story, rather than starting things and that's about it. It was alright though.